The price of pride. I remember the day like it was yesterday. It was a hot afternoon, and the sun was blazing down on our small village. There was no wind, no clouds, just heat and dust. Everyone was busy with their own lives, trying to make it through the day. But something happened that I will never forget. Kofi was a young man in our village, and he was known for two things: his pride and his poverty. He had nothing to his name, no land, no cattle, and barely enough food to eat. But despite this, Kofi walked around with his head held high, always refusing help from others. He would rather go hungry than take charity. He believed that asking for help was a sign of weakness. One day, a rich man from the city came to our village. He was looking for someone to work on his farm, someone strong and reliable. The man offered good pay, more than anyone in the village had ever seen. But the work was hard, and it was clear that whoever took the job would need to swallow their pride. When the rich man approached Kofi, he looked at him with a smile. "Young man, you look strong. I have a job for you that will pay well. It will change your life," he said. But Kofi didn't even think about it. He looked the man in the eye and said, "I don't need your money. I can take care of myself." The rich man was surprised but didn't push any further. He went on his way, offering the job to others. Kofi stood there, watching as people talked about the opportunity. But his pride wouldn't let him consider it. He kept telling himself that he didn't need anyone's help, that he could survive on his own. Days turned into weeks, and the village started to see changes. Those who had taken the job with the rich man began to improve their lives. They bought new clothes, better tools, and even started to build better homes. But Kofi stayed the same. His clothes grew more worn, his body thinner, and his face more tired. One evening, I saw him sitting alone by the river, staring at the water. I walked over to him, feeling sorry for him. "Kofi," I said softly, "why do you do this to yourself? Why not take the job and make a better life?" He didn't look at me. He just kept staring at the water. "I don't want people to think I'm weak," he finally said. "I don't want them to think I can't make it on my own." I didn't know what to say. His pride was so strong that it blinded him. He couldn't see that everyone in the village respected him more for trying to survive than they would have judged him for taking the job. As the months passed, Kofi became weaker. The small farm he tried to work on barely produced enough to feed him. One day, he collapsed in the middle of the village. People rushed to help him, but he refused their hands. "I'm fine," he mumbled, trying to stand up on his own. But his body had had enough. That night, Kofi passed away in his sleep. He was found alone in his small, crumbling hut, clutching a piece of bread that was as hard as a rock. The news spread quickly through the village, and everyone was saddened by his death. But there was also a lesson in his passing, a lesson about pride and the cost of refusing help when it's needed. We buried Kofi on the outskirts of the village, and every year, on the anniversary of his death, the villagers gather around his grave. We tell his story to the young ones, hoping they understand that pride, while important, should never stand in the way of survival. Kofi's story still haunts me. Every time I see someone struggling, I think of him. And I always remind myself that it's okay to ask for help, that sometimes accepting help is the strongest thing a person can do.